afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Illuminating conversation. My name is Rachel Weinstein. I'm one of the past presidents of Illuminate, and it's my pleasure to welcome you today. Illuminate empowers Jewish women not-for-profit leaders and philanthropists who are advancing gender equity and social change. We do this by investing in Jewish women leaders who are tackling some of society's most pressing issues here in the United States, in Israel, and around the globe. At the same time, we are also educating philanthropists on best practices and emerging issues so that they can be more strategic with their giving. Today, I am delighted to sit in conversation with one of the incredible women in our network, Shoshana McKinney Kirya-Ziraba, Executive Director and co-founder of Tikva Hadasha Uganda, which engages Jewish communities here in the United States and in Uganda to work for gender justice, disability access, and educational opportunities as human rights. Shoshana, welcome. I'm so happy to chat with you today.
Thank you, Rachel. It's such a blessing to be on here.
Yes. So, if I'm not mistaken, you actually grew up in California and you started out on a different professional path. So tell us a bit about your background and how you got to Uganda.
Sure. So I got to Uganda through my marriage to my husband. So what happened was I grew up as a Jewish kid in LA. My parents are African American Jews by choice, and the rabbi went to rabbinical school in Uganda. And that's how I got tied in with the community and got introduced to my husband that way. And and so we were originally going to live in America, but then when the coronavirus pandemic came, uh, America was not letting us live together. So we had to move to Uganda. But it ended up being a blessing in a horrible disguise because Uganda was where we made a home and grew our family and really rooted ourselves in the Jewish community of Uganda and made Tikva Hadasha Uganda and really made a difference.
Amazing. Well, I want to talk to you about that. Just tell me though, what were you on a different professional track before you moved, am I right?
Yes, that's right. I was working in corporate headquarters of a large company in treasury management, um, with $1 billion under management. But um, when I made the transition, um, I was able to take some of those skills and some of that knowledge base with me into what I'm doing today. And so everything that you learn goes to benefit you.
No, I believe it. I always think you put it in your suitcase and you take it with you on your journey. I can only imagine though, going from like the corporate world in LA, one of the largest cities, in this country and maybe even the world, going to rural Uganda must have been quite a culture shock.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So basically, how I say it's my life is like the African version of Green Acres.
So, like, talk about that a little bit. How did you navigate becoming part of that community and engaging with the community?
You know, when so like many African Americans, when you first come to Africa, you think that you're gonna get off the plane and everyone's gonna hug you and say, "Welcome back home, sister." But no, it was like, no, that you're a foreigner. And so it took a while for people to kind of get used to me, for me to get used to them, for me to adopt certain aspects of the culture that really resonated with me. Um, and to really find my new way of life. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a transition. It was a transition. but it was wonderful.
Was there like someone specific who took you under their wing, or like were you just
Oh yes, yes. The women at our synagogue really
amazing? Yeah.
really helped me feel welcome.
Right? Isn't that one of the greatest gifts of the Jewish community, the welcoming the stranger? So, so glad that's part of it. So then how did Tikva Chadasha become to be then? Like, here you are, like you said, you're entering a community. Like how did that all come about?
Yeah, so before we started Tikva Hadasha Uganda, um, we started doing projects in service of the community. So we first started with a water project um, where there was a broken water pump in one village in our region, and we needed um, it wasn't optimal to repair that water pump. So instead, what we did was we got home water filters to all the community members. And that was very so that they could make whatever water they had clean. They could
Hmm.
improve the quality of whatever water. You, Uganda has so much water. It rains all the time. There's plenty of rivers, lakes, streams, and yet it's a country that has water safety problems.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so and so when we're really looking for the win, it's not just how do I get this done, but it's how do I get these results for these people.
Mm.
And so that's what our logic took us to was getting the home water filters. That was our first project before we ever officially um, registered an organization. Then during the coronavirus, during the second lockdown, we did a big fundraiser for cornmeal, flour, rice, beans, charcoal, which is a common cooking fuel. Um, and since the schools were closed, we also raised money for laptops and these MiFi boxes that have a wireless internet connection, and got those to the high school students. And that project was absolutely wonderful. And then, we said, okay, well, if we want to do even more things in a bigger way, we're going to have to register as an organization and really take this on. And so, and so, once we first got registered in Uganda, and then I left my corporate opportunity behind completely. And then just really was off to the races with Tikva Hadasha Uganda. And so,
Amazing.
yeah.
I know you had a short presentation you wanted to share a little bit about your work and your genesis. Do you want to do that now?
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you.
Okay, great.
All right. Tikva Hadasha Uganda. So it means new hope for Uganda in Hebrew. And
Beautiful.
that's a big value that we have is that we have hope. So the Jewish community of Uganda was founded long ago by a man named Semei Kakangulu. So the community does not have direct lineage to ancient Israel like most Jewish communities do. This community is the descendants of converts, and Semei Kakangulu was given the Holy Scriptures by the British, but he complained about the British because the British were not celebrating the festivals. The British were not observing Shabbat. The British were eating whatever animals they want to. And the British told him, well, the only people who live according to the scriptures are the Jews. So then he said, then I am a Jew. And his followers adopted Judaism. Thankfully, some Moroccan merchants came to Uganda and helped influence the community with a more standardized practice of Judaism. And so there's a heavy Sephardi influence on the community. And I would say the same Jewish traditions with an African twist. So, for example, our sukkah is made with palm trees and banana leaves. And like the chuppah at my wedding was made of sugarcane poles. And at the end of the wedding, we eat our chuppah. So that's, it's the same Jewish traditions, but with an African twist. And so there's been 6 generations of Jews in Uganda. The when you hear about conversions happening in the community, note that it is not conversion in the same way that my parents converted to Judaism. It's more like when the Ethiopian community of Israel converted to Judaism. It was for legalistic halachic reasons, not people who were from a different culture coming into the Jewish nation. And so Tablet Magazine called me the accidental expat. And it was a fun article for me to write. And you can go ahead and, read a little bit more about me and there. Here I am in a traditional Ugandan dress that's called a gomez, with my husband and my brother-in-law. And so we're at home right there. Okay, so our projects for women. So we do several different things, but two of the biggest things that we do with women are the chicken farming projects, which really, really love those. We chose to do chicken farming instead of giving goats or heifers or other big animals, because with those animals, it takes 2 years to get your money back out. But these women need income every month. And so these are broiler chickens, chickens that are raised for meat, can give money every month with these projects. And so we provided everything, the equipment, the supplies, the training. We have a chicken farm at home, and so they can come to train. And we hook them up with solar power, rainwater collection. So it's very green. These farms are cage free, which is definitely a big value for us. And our beneficiaries have really, really loved it. And it's really changed families where kids have been able to go back to school, and families gotten good clothes, and it's really, really good project. Our other project that we work with is a craft project with women. So these women pictured here are from Namutumba village, and they have knitted some challah covers. So there's many different styles of challah covers, but these women really love doing it. And what they love about, and this goes for both the chicken project and the craft project, is that they can work from home. So the typical family size in rural Uganda is 4 or 5 kids. A lot of women will even have 6 or 7. And so when a woman can earn money from home, it's a game changer. It really is. It really is. And so a lot of these women, they didn't have a chance to even attend high school, let alone graduate. And so their only other options usually are um, offering themselves as day labor in the vegetable fields. And so when they work in the vegetable fields, they earn less than $2 a day. And so these craft projects, chicken project, earn so much more money, where it really is changing their life in a sustained way. And so these projects are really, really good. Really, really, really. Another one, water. So when a water pump is broken, um, and it's during the dry season, so there's not rainwater to collect, um, that means they have to walk even farther to collect water. So gathering water is considered women's work. And so early, sometimes when it's still dark out, you'll see women with these big yellow jerry cans collecting water. And, when a water pump is broken, they have to walk even farther to collect water and even farther to bring it back. And so it's a huge drain. Imagine trying to collect water and then have to wash your family's laundry and dishes by hand. And then is there any energy left over to go do a day of farm work? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And so unfortunately, some of these municipalities um uh were not able to repair these water pumps when they get broken. And so that's one thing that we have taken on is repairing water pumps. Um, and yeah, it makes a big difference. Um, when people get clean water, they can avoid diseases like typhoid, malaria. There's another disease called bilharzia, which is absolutely devastating. And so having a clean water source is absolutely vital. So this water pump is one that we were able to help repair. And so maternal health. So in Uganda, in general, people don't have scientific understandings of their body. So if someone gets sick and it's not easily explained or understood, then they'll be like, oh, well, is it bad juju or is it, you know, um, their emotions or the seasons or other explanations. But getting people access to sound medical care is very, very important. And in the medical system in Uganda, families and midwives are really important when it comes to maternal health. They're the first line of defense. The family is such an important part of medical care that when a patient goes to the hospital, it's the family that is expected to bring new clean sheets, and it's the family that is expected to bring the patient's food, where the hospital does not typically provide that in Uganda. So it's a very different situation medically. There's a high maternal mortality rate in Uganda. Over 300 women per 100,000 um, women die in childbirth. And the most common causes of death are blood loss and unavailability of a C-section.
Mhm.
And so we're working with Petete Hospital to get them a surgical theater, equipment. We were able to get a blood storage refrigerator for them. Also, working with the village health teams so that the midwives and family members and the pregnant women themselves can recognize when there's been too much blood loss, recognize when there needs to be a C-section earlier, and also recognize when they're at having a higher risk pregnancy. That's really that's vital. So here's the a section of the lab, one of the clinicians, and the room that they want to convert into the surgical theater. And our projects for kids. So we do a lot with kids. Like we had a project with wheelchairs that thankfully has been very successful, getting kids wheelchairs. It sounds so strange because in America, when you hear about a fundraiser for wheelchairs, someone who already has a wheelchair and wants maybe a new one or a better one, or one that's very specialized. We don't think about someone who's literally crawling around on their hands and knees because they don't have a wheelchair. And so that's one thing that really makes a big difference when a person's able to move with dignity. And I've been really, really proud of that project. Um, so also with kids, we have our volunteer visitors come and work with the kids. We also have local Jewish community volunteer days several times a year and work with the kids. Play, draw pictures, play music, blow bubbles, have lollipops, and just let them know that they're really cared for and really loved. And then also the storybooks and solar power. So this was a great project that really made a big difference in the village. So the solar project first started when on Erev Rosh Hashanah, we're at prayers and the whole village goes dark. The whole village. And there was nothing but the light of the holiday candles in the synagogue. And the kids are running around going nuts, and the adults are wringing their hands. And I just was praying. I said, Hashem, like, let us find a way. There has to be a better way. And so this solar project was very successful. We were able to get solar power to the synagogue, to the Jewish school next door to it, and solar power streetlights all throughout the entire main drag of the village. And it just changed the whole community. It really made the community shine. It made the whole village safer, with women being able to go visit their friends at night, women feeling comfortable to just walk to the store and walk back home without worrying that I can't see, or, crime. It's been a game changer for the entire community. And there's other villages that we want to take the template of this project to other villages. So how you can get involved? You can donate online. You can sponsor a project if you want to reach out to me. You can invite me to speak, maybe at your synagogue or other place, and you can buy a challah cover on our website. So that little piece of Uganda will always be inside your home. So that
Amazing.
is all for me.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you have such a breadth of work that you do. First of all, how do you identify the needs of the community?
So we get approached about different issues that come up. Like, for example, so what, it's like once word gets around, hey, Tikva Hadasha is working on is creating projects for the issues in the community or in the region, then we get approached. Like I was approached by the hospital director about the issues with women. I was approached by the the um, the first woman that we wanted to make a chicken project for, we were sitting on the porch one day, on her porch, and she said, and she lives in a very, very simple house, brick house with a floor that's just cement. Um, she sits on plastic chairs, just very, very, very humble home. And we're sitting on her porch, and which is just a cement block. And and she was saying, "Ah, I wish I could have some kind of business." And I said, "Well, what kind of business would you do?" She said, "I would have a little chicken farm." And I said, "Well, let's do it." And we did it. It was a success. And then we were able to replicate it. Um, when it comes to the craft project, um, we knew that that several women were already making crafts, but we wanted to um, grow the market for it, and so that they could make more and more. And so we were able to contact a couple Judaica shops in America. And there's a couple in Canada also that we worked with. And
Amazing.
so yeah, so word gets around when you're doing some good things.
Well, it sort of gives new meaning to the old Jewish proverb about like, teaching a man to fish as opposed to giving him the fish. I mean, and you know, I've always loved that expression, um, with us and not for us. I mean, it very much sounds like you are immersed in the community, you're listening to the community, you're partnering with the community to like, and they're very much helping to dictate what needs happening.
Yes, yes. And listening is so important because um me coming from the outside and telling them what success looks like, well, I could be wrong.
Hmm.
So, like for example, the water issue. If you take an American, typical American view, success means each person having indoor plumbing, and that's what success looks like. However, if these people don't have typical jobs and incomes that line up with the expenses that indoor plumbing would have inevitably, then that's not a long-term sustainable solution. Then it's far more sustainable to make a borehole closer to where the people are, to repair a water pump, to even create a rainwater collection at the person's house, than to come in with an American view and put an American solution on their problem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I think maybe some people listening would say, oh, this sounds like direct service. But I want you to talk about how these projects, where you may be introducing something that is filling a direct service need in a way, food, water, um, is really creating the change. Like, talk a little bit more about like how this change is the community's lives, specifically women's lives, by some of these things that you're introducing.
Sure. Well, so for example, like the women that we make chicken farms for, they were able to send their kids to school, or kids who hadn't been to school in years, now able to get to school because of the money that comes in every month from a chicken project. Um, able to get medicine for malaria. So, Uganda, uh, malaria is endemic to Uganda. And so if you're in Uganda for a year and you don't take the prophylaxis, like you're probably gonna get it.
Yeah.
Okay, probably. And and it for kids under age 5, it's deadly very quickly. And so being able to get malaria medicine, even though it's something that only costs about $30, um, if you don't have it, that's a lot. If you
Yeah.
don't have it, if you're someone who's making only $2 a day. And so, all of these things that it's all of these ripple effects that really make such a difference. And it's a difference in a sustained way.
Yeah. I mean, changing mortality rates is huge. You may be introducing this one thing, a refrigerator to have blood, but if you're changing mortality rates, it's like I love that idea of the ripple effect. You also have like a really wide umbrella when you like in terms of like addressing the needs of the community where
Yeah.
other organizations might be like, we do X, like talk a little bit about that approach, where you see the benefits, if there are any drawbacks.
Yeah. So I would say for us, the biggest benefit of of finding different ways of helping this region, Eastern Uganda, and the Jewish community there, is that we're able to be very responsive. Like, for example, like during coronavirus, we're able to be very responsive to the needs, but also we're able to be really efficient when we employ our resources.
Hmm.
So like for example, when we first started, if we were dead set on we have to repair water pumps, well, that first water pump, we met with an engineer who did a site survey and said, well, the water table isn't as high as it used to be, and it's not, it's not the optimal way. And so if you're looking for the win and you're looking for how to get the results for the people, then you can be flexible on how you get that done. Like our wheelchair program, that was something that we didn't know we would do it until we didn't know that it was even a thing that could be done until there was like, oh, here's this treasure trove of broken wheelchairs, and here's this group of kids who uses wheelchairs, and oh, and they need more repaired, and they need and there's kids in mountain villages that benefit from the surplus wheelchairs that we were able to get to them. And so, if you're looking for those ways to help the community, then you can do it in a really efficient way, and you can be very really responsive to what they actually need.
Yeah. It sounds to me like I would say it sounds like real feminist leadership, right? You're not going in with like a very linear tunnel vision, like this is our goal, this is where we're going to get to. I think that's often, you know, the way we look at leadership, that you have this goal and you're going to map it out and you're going to, but it's really a little more tactile, it's a little more flexible, it's a little more intuitive, it's a little more resourceful, I think, in a way. So
Thank you.
it's so interesting. Such a great kind of way of approaching things.
Thank
Um,
you. And on the feminist, piece, I would say being in Uganda helped me understand about gender justice. Because before, when people say gender justice, I would think of like Lena Dunham burning her bra. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, oh, give me a break. I'm not one of those, right? But, you know, understanding what women go through, I'm so privileged. th some of these women have problems that I have never had to do. Um, you know, only one day in my life have I ever had to, when, when our plumbing was down one day, have I had to actually carry water back home.
Mhm.
When I was giving birth to my son, I never once worried that I might die. I got married at age 35. None of my parents ever thought that they had to get me married as a teen because I couldn't take care of me. And so when I hear that phrase gender justice, I know what that means now from living in Uganda.
In a very, very specific way. 100%. Wow. Um, how much of the year are you actually in Uganda versus, because right now you're not, right? Now I think you said you're in Atlanta today.
Yes.
Um, how much of the year are you there? How much of the year are you stateside? How does that impact your work?
So about 30% of the time I'll be in Uganda this year, but of course that can change. I still own my house, and so I can go home whenever I want to. Um, but yeah, you know, there's benefits to being in both places. And I'm thankful that our small team is able to take care of some things without me physically being there.
You have a team on the ground there.
Yes, yes. So we have two staff members, and then we have our Ugandan board members that are volunteers that do
Amazing.
a lot of heavy lifting.
I want to switch gears a little bit, and you touched on this very briefly in your presentation, but I want to talk about what Judaism looks like in Uganda. Like, I want to talk a little bit about like the traditions that we would all know, and where that meshes with African culture and gets massaged into something slightly different.
Sure, sure. So, okay, so one thing is that being on the equator, in Uganda, we don't wonder like, when is Shabbat starting? When is Shabbat starting? Let me check the Shabbat times. We're on the equator, so Shabbat starts at the same time.
That's very convenient. Very
Shabbat
convenient.
starts at the same time. And then, like Hanukkah, for example, it's it's the hot season. December is the hot season. And so we'll do a barbecue outside for Hanukkah.
Lovely. Are there any other unique traditions that are like special to Uganda?
Yeah. We love like during Havdalah, we love having a drum circle.
Oh, that's cool.
Um uh Drum circle for Havdalah. And then we also really love going um there's a big synagogue in a small mountain village called Nabugoye that we like to go to on high holidays. And the Ugandan shofar is is different from a typical shofar. It looks and sounds more like the Yemenite shofar,
Oh, interesting.
but um it has a hole not at the very tip, but along the side, more like a flute is where the
Mm,
hole is.
yeah,
And so it has a very rich, warm tone. Um, so yeah, it's
so great. Just as an aside, are you also fluent in the language?
am I fluent in okay, so no, no, but there is not the language.
There are multiple languages.
Okay, so the official language of Uganda is actually English.
Yes.
Okay, that's the official language. but the Jews are speaking Basoga, Lugwere, Luganda,
Wow.
Lugisu, and so there's four tribes that live in that region, and so which language am I going to learn?
Interesting.
So my
Your
so
husband's language, I was thinking,
is
whatever that was.
yeah, Lusoga is the language, but it's like, okay, how much am I gonna work learning the second biggest language in Uganda? So I've learned words. I've learned words.
I see.
And I've learned phrases to yell at my son. So I can tell him to like stop fighting, close the door in in Lusoga.
So when you work between communities or when communities work between, everyone's conversing in English mostly.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So the school system teaches in English.
Hmm.
Um, uh, the vast majority of the media uh, is in English, but people from like an older generation, it's hit or miss about whether or not they will
All
speak
right.
English well.
Right. So I'd love to hear a little bit. You come into the collective with such a unique perspective. I think in your cohort, although we've had cohorts in the past that have had more people working internationally, I think you're the only one outside of Israel in your particular cohort. But I would just love to hear about how being a part of the collective has sort of impacted your leadership, what relationships you've been able to leverage, just anything you really want to share about what your experience has been.
Oh, Illuminate has been absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You have been amazing. Everyone has been so supportive and so encouraging. Um, so Illuminate has introduced us to donors and friends. Um, Also, Illuminate helped put us on the map as far as uh, having people know who we are before we approach them. And that's been really good. It's also given me a vote of confidence to know that hey, there's other Jewish women who believe in me and believe I can do this. And I just gotta push ahead, you know. Um, Also helping us develop our leadership skills has been really good. Ruth Messenger has been a very instrumental mentor and also teacher for us on many things when it comes to leadership and um, derech eretz, as we say,
Mm.
inside this the nonprofit sector. And then, connecting me with Sivan Lavi from Innovation
Oh,
Africa.
amazing. I
So,
wondered if you were partnering with
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yvonne, who builds
Yeah,
irrigation systems in
yeah,
Uganda.
yeah. So we partnered with her on one of the water pumps.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that was really great. And then and also there's another woman, Rachel Saslow with Mother Health.
Yes, Mother Health, who addresses maternal health in Uganda, has
Yeah.
had clinics and motorcycle ambulances and
Yes.
um
So,
yeah,
even though we haven't partnered directly on something, getting insights and understandings on the maternal health issue, and what my role is. So, what our role is going to be different from what she's doing, but um, the work that she has done has provided us with some insights on how to better proceed with what we want to do.
amazing.
That's been
I
wonderful.
mean, well, look, that's the aim for Illuminate as we continue to build this global network of leaders is really about like where we can connect, where people can serve as resources for each other, where we can learn from best practices, both from other women doing this work, whether it's geographically or in the same space that you are, or whether it's philanthropists who have experience or resources that they want to put toward this. So, I mean, that's our hope. We're officially launching our global network in a week and a half. On April 27th, followed by our luncheon on the 29th. And if anyone who's listening wants to join us for any of those, please check out our website. But I do love what you're saying about helping to put you on the map. I think for a long time, for years, Illuminate has believed in Jewish women, especially who are working internationally, where they are in a community or where they've been in a community and they just see a need, no matter how big or small it is. What does introducing soap into a rural community in Africa, how does that create social change, all the way through until, what the work that you're doing. And I think we're very proud to be early funders and supporters of people like you, that we see your vision, that we believe in your vision, that you inspire us, and that we hope by supporting you and funding you, that will encourage others to do the same. So I'm happy to hear that has been the case. I'm so happy that we had this opportunity to chat today, and I hope people have learned a lot about your work. Thank you so much for sharing. And I encourage anyone who is interested in learning more about Shoshana's work to visit her website, which will also circulate to you in an email tomorrow. Thank you so much for being with us today, Shoshana.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. And thanks everyone for being here.